why did I start working out? That is the question I'll be answering today. So the reason I started was simply because I didn't want to be small and weak. It's a no-brainer. It's better to be strong as opposed to weak, not for any specific purpose, but just in general. I also realised I probably wasn't growing much taller, so the only way to grow was outwards, and it's muscle over fat any day of the week. But over time I've had varying motivations for training. I can't say I can pinpoint them all, but I'll get to my current one shortly. Before that though, as promised, an honest review of the benefits and drawbacks of committing to developing yourself. I'm going to break this down by a rough approximation of time period to progress, because the benefits obviously don't all come at once, and while pushing your body as a personal journey, I think this is a reasonable breakdown of what to expect in its natural order. So, the first 1 to 6 months, you can expect right at the start to just be proud you worked out, feel a little sense of pride that you didn't skip the gym even though you didn't feel like going. You'll probably skip leg day the most because you're a trash piece of shit at this point, but don't worry, that was me too. What will start to become addictive is the progress you see. That's as long as you're doing the 3 most basic things to at least a pretty substandard degree. These are getting the protein and calories, getting a half decent sleep most nights, and pushing yourself each time you go to the gym. You'll also start to build confidence during this time frame, although that gets greater with time until you're blessed with fully developed narcissism. You'll also enjoy the infamous newbie gains and should be noticing obvious changes in your body, unless you started off on hard mode and you need to shed some pounds of fat before you can really appreciate the physique being developed underneath. Massive props to you, soldiers. So congratulations, you've not quit during the time frame you're most likely to, and you'll be pleased to hear it almost gets easier from here in my opinion, at least in terms of getting to the gym, as it's now an instilled habit requiring minimal thought and effort to initiate until you start the workout, of course. At this point however, you might be starting to think about meal prepping and getting supplements to aid the workouts and recovery because the newbie gains have ceased. But remember that proud feeling I mentioned earlier that you made it to the gym? That's now evolved into a strong release of dopamine on par with a more primal level. You're past the point of being proud that you weren't so lazy or you were prioritizing the wrong things so you couldn't get to the gym. You now love it and it's your new and only personality. Just fucking with you. Though seriously, make sure to keep other interests, because no matter how shredded you are, still be a boring fuck if that does happen. If you're semi-autistic, you should be fine, as you'll have a new interest or hobby every other week. During this stage, you're also probably beginning to become more health conscious. Now, let's forget about the obvious benefits for us personally for a second and think ahead. Living a healthier life leads to improved longevity, which means many perks later on in life. If you're fit as opposed to fat, you're less likely to die from a heart attack in your 50s. Chances are you'll have less health complications as you get older, meaning you're not paying very high rates for travel insurance, for example. And believe me, that could make the difference between you being able to holiday or not in your later years. You'll also be able to enjoy more time with your children and grandchildren, partner, and enjoy seeing more of the world in your formative years. You'll also enjoy better quality time if the activities you engage in with friends and family aren't restricted by your preventable health conditions. I'm sure none of us want to burden those close to us because we couldn't muster up the small amount of discipline and self-love to treat our bodies the right way. Don't be selfish. Think about how your actions in the present will affect those in your future, even if they aren't currently in your life. You've now evolved into a baby gym rat. You've still got all the fluff of a newborn, but the regulars in the gym recognise and respect your commitment, unless you don't re-rack weights, are rude and obnoxious, or you deadlift sumo. At this point, you're probably counting your macros, probably trying to better your form and technique to maximise the lift, and you're saying no to some socials, depending on how active your mates are, and you've cut down the hours wasted in the day. You've also become a chicken connoisseur, able to cook a piece to perfection, and if you're white, you've ventured from our mainstay of salt and pepper seasoning to more exotic things originating in lands far from ours. And if this won't be happening because you're vegan, comment down below so I know who to block. At this point, I feel like it gets even more personal a journey. Maybe you want to start competing in powerlifting because you've realised you're an absolute unit, or maybe start competing in bodybuilding shows, natural or otherwise, because you love the attention. Others may just enjoy the progress and want to keep pushing, but just for the self-satisfaction and personal development. For some, both their parents are dead and they're just trying to fill a void. Whatever your motivations, I'd like to commend everyone for making it this far and to keep on grinding. There are also general benefits of physical activity. University of South Australia research researchers are now recommending that physical activity be a mainstay approach for managing depression. It's something like 1.5 times more effective at combating depression than either counselling or the leading medications. I've got to say, I'm surprised that it's taken this long for this kind of research to be published. I mean, what was stopping anyone from doing such an obvious study before? It's almost as though certain groups have something to gain from people being prescribed more medication. But anyway, I wanted to save the best till last. The mindset you'll develop along the way is on another level. When you start to see yourself pushing past boundaries and limitations you used to have, you'll develop a lot more confidence, resilience, and stoicism. This is actually something I want to touch on soon, as I think with today's prevalence of mental health crises, it's a tool that many of us could do with utilising. And from lots of conversations I've had, the majority of people either aren't aware of it or only have a vague idea about it. It's something I internalised a while ago, and honestly, if you find your emotions getting the best of you in bad ways, don't wait for that video, just look into it now. While I can't quite pinpoint where these start along your journey, I'll try and order them consecutively. Firstly, you might be a bit shy, embarrassed because you're worried about what people think. Well, I've got good news for you, you're self-centered shit. No one gives a fuck about you or what you're doing unless it's impressive. Everyone in the gym is self-obsessed when they're lifting weights, so you'll fit right in. Oh, and just on a side note, if one of your reasons for starting is because you're overweight, the good news is the porkier you are, the more respect everyone there will have for you for simply being there and trying to better yourself. So please don't let that be an excuse to put you off starting. Secondly, if you stay natural, the noticeable progress will taper off after the first year to 2 years. This is where it's make or break for your steroid addiction. My advice would be to leave them alone unless you plan on competing professionally or want to compete with the influencers. Honestly, those are the only two I think are generally applicable to consistent gym goers, but who have a well-rounded life and aren't trying to fill any voids. For those that are, you can expect these next few to creep up on you. Unless you manage your time well, you're always going to be late to socials as your time in the gym cuts into them. I honestly don't think I made the time I said I would for anything while I was at uni, but it was all worth it. You'll probably eventually no longer see eating as a pleasurable endeavour and will be eating mainly for purpose as opposed to pleasure. Personally, I don't think this is a bad thing. It makes those nice meals you'll occasionally have all the more enjoyable. I'm not saying you can't have nice healthy meals, I just really can't be fucked with it all, so I do whatever's the most straightforward to save time. You'll have less time for Netflix and other shows. I personally don't think this is a drawback, but I'm sure there are people out there that will. But trust me, one day you'll be glad you spent more of your time developing yourself as opposed to watching as much media. You may develop body dysmorphia. Honestly, I think this is mostly down to Instagram and the wide variety of mirrors used that can make your physique look significantly better or worse. Just remember, it's all in your head and you're the one running the show. I know there's the usual garbage about caffeine addictions, but caffeine isn't bad for you unless consumed in ridiculously large quantities or too close to bedtime. So I wouldn't stress to make sure you drink plenty of water. I think that just about sums up the negatives really, none of which should deter you. The good things in life don't come easy, and regardless of what happens in life, the nice thing about personal development is that it can't be taken away from you. You make an investment in yourself and down the line you can reap the rewards. For example, I know I'm probably only speaking to maybe 30 to 50 people if this video does half well by this channel standards, but that's alright because when I first did deadlifts I was doing 40 kg, now it's 225 and counting. Now my motivation is to see how far I can push my body. The thing is, we see people like David Goggins push his body beyond what any thought was capable, and seeing the unthinkable be done does make me wonder what we are really capable of. I think it would be arrogant to think we know enough as a whole to put so many limitations on ourselves, but we love to tell ourselves something can't be done as it gives us an easy out. But I mean, this guy is the extreme, so let's put it in simpler terms. Once upon a time, the sub 4-minute mile was thought undoable until in 1954 Roger Bannister broke that record. Then all of a sudden people started breaking it all over the shop. What had changed then? We can't know for sure, but I would bet my life that it was people's mindsets change. As soon as one man proved it was possible, the rest believed they could. All it takes is for that one to break the status quo. I think that's one of the intrinsically beautiful things about us as a species, that we're able to consistently surpass ourselves with our physical and mental feats, and I've got a feeling we barely scratch the surface of what's possible. So that pretty much sums it up for today. Before I go, I just want to say one last thing. If any of what I've said has resonated with any of you, then please do yourself a favour and get stuck in. Don't think about it, just close down YouTube, search your nearest, cheapest gym, sign up for a month and get your ass down there. Worst case, you don't go, you waste 15-20 quid and have to cancel a gym membership. Best case, this is the first day of the rest of your life, but at this point there shouldn't be any thinking, just doing. Don't think about tomorrow or the next day or the next month or the next year. It's just about now. If you have the time and you want to, you've got no excuse. With all the distractions we have nowadays, I feel like it can be rare for us to get moments of peace to contemplate matters that are not pressing. And because of this, to finish up with, I'd like to share a quote from the philosopher Socrates. No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable.